I can still remember sitting in the computer lab with my 6th grade class, shaking and feeling sick to my stomach as I was about to start the WKCE test, which is a statewide standardized exam. There was not a minute that went by that I felt relaxed while taking this test, and I was not the only one that felt like this. I remember I looked around the room and saw other people just as nervous as me. According to the Education Reform, published in 2017, a standardized test is any form of a test that requires all test takers to answer the same questions or a selection of questions in a similar way and thus scored in a standard manner. A study done by Rayhard and others in 2016 found that a typical student takes about 112 mandated standardized tests between pre-kindergarten and pre-kindergarten classes and 12th grade. I have taken many standardized tests throughout school and have done extensive research on this topic. From my audience analysis questionnaire, I found that all of you have taken a standardized test sometime in your life and that 100% of you have felt stressed or anxious while taking it. Standardized tests should no longer be mandatory in middle or high schools due to the unnecessary stress it causes students, teachers not teaching the curriculum correctly, and the large amounts of time and money being wasted. Today, I persuade you that standardized tests should be eliminated from schools through using rewards motivated sequence by discussing the problems of standardized testing, the possible solutions, and what you can do to help future generations. Let's begin with discussing what problems arise from the current standardized tests that students are taking. Students feel an overwhelmed amount of stress before, during, and after taking the test. Many articles I read from teachers and parents said that students aren't themselves around the time they're taking the test. Students experience many negative body reactions such as headache, blurry vision, dry mouth, and sweaty hands or feet. Standardized tests are not adapted to students and they only measure a small portion of what makes education meaningful. A study done by Jared W. Bracey in 2017 found that standardized tests can't measure creativity, critical thinking, motivation, self-discipline, and many other key characteristics. Standardized tests may test knowledge, but it also depends on how you take the test. An example of this is my friend who's very smart is a bad test taker, so she gets bad scores on these kind of tests even though she's very intelligent. One thing I did notice while researching about how stress and anxiety levels are risen due to standardized tests is that there's not many up-to-date articles or data on this mental health issue. This is a huge problem. Next, teachers are more worried about teaching will be on the test instead of the actual curriculum. My mom's best friend, who's been teaching 5th grade for about 25 years, said that she feels like she has to teach will be on the test instead it will truly help the kids. She also mentioned that she feels like it's a disservice to the kids in the class. While researching, I came across a video from Barack Obama's presidency where he said, "In moderation, smart strategic tests can help us measure kids' progress in school and help them learn. But I also hear from parents who rightfully worry about too much testing and from teachers who feel so much pressure to teach a test that it takes the joy out of teaching and learning, both for them and for the students." The last problem I'll discuss is the large amounts of time and money spent preparing, taking, and purchasing the test. The study done by Rayhard and others in 2016 found that students typically spend between 20 to 25 hours per year of taking tests. This image shows that 8th grade is the worst at 25.3 hours per year. These numbers don't even take into account the amount of time spent preparing the test. Molly Beck noted that in Wisconsin for the 2016-2017 year, that the Department of Public Instruction asked for $18.5 million to pay for administering the test, and that this price is only going up in the future. Many families also pay additional money for extra tests or websites to better prepare them before the actual test. All of these problems that I just discussed can be eliminated with a few alternatives to standardized testing. From my audience analysis questionnaire, some of the benefits identified including testing a large population all at once and getting an idea of where students could show future improvements. These benefits can still be possible by having a weighted GPA or by having someone monitor the class without the stress that students experience. According to Tom Van Ark in 2019, the purpose of a standardized test is to make comparisons among schools, ensure accountability for both teachers and students, and inform instruction for educators. Schools can inform instruction for educators by having the school principal come in and observe the class. Through those observations, the school can ensure that the best curriculum for the teacher to teach. The accountability for the teachers can be ensured by having the principal come in and observe the teacher. Through these observations, the principal can ensure that the correct things are being taught effectively. Teachers and students can be held accountable by having a designated person from the State Department of Public Instruction come in and monitor the class. After they monitored every class in the school, they can give grades to that class based on what they observed and use those grades to hold the school accountable and make comparisons across the state. Students' achievement can be monitored by having a weighted GPA and by having the principal observe the classes. Weighted GPAs are extremely beneficial given that they take the difficulty of classes into consideration along with the GPA. All of these solutions that I just discussed are easy to implement and less expensive than standardized tests. Dr. Sean Kelly, principal of Chiplin Hill High School in Douglas County, Georgia, noted in 2018 that between him and his 4 assistant principals, they're in every classroom at least once per week for a minimum of 45 minutes. He quoted, "We see the focus of lessons and we alter teachers' lessons plans to further advance students' learnings. We are able to identify areas of major concern to intervene before they become too major. We learn so much about teachers and students, such as the range of students' intelligence in both the teachers and the students' accountability." Nicole L. Wilson's 2017 study also confirmed the benefits of principals being in the classroom. Getting rid of standardized tests and using alternative methods such as administrators in the classroom and weighted GPAs will have students enjoy school much more. Imagine this. A teacher comes to the classroom and tells the class that they have a standardized test next week and that, if they do well, the school gets money from the state. The 13-year-old sitting in the class feels a ball drop in his stomach. Every day leading up to the test, he is stressed and anxious because he feels like this test will determine his future. While taking the test, his heart is racing, he has trouble breathing, and is sweating profusely, which resulted in him not being able to concentrate well and do as well as he should. Students should be able to sit in the class all year round without being subject to anxiety and experience negative body reactions. Even when an administrator does come into class, the students will feel comfortable because their personal intelligence is not being directly tested at this time. When class is done, students can go on and enjoy school without having to worry about if they did well or not on the test. All kids should be able to enjoy school and not have to worry about performing up to a specific standard. That's why we need to take action now. In conclusion, standardized tests have many negative effects on both the students and the teachers, along with costing a lot of time and money. Some alternatives include having someone monitor the class and make comparisons from there, and by having a weighted GPA. Just think about this. For all of you who said you had stress and anxiety while taking the test can be eliminated for all the future generations. Standardized tests should no longer be mandatory in middle or high schools due to the mental and physical problems that arise. I urge all of you to either talk to your local school board or the state legislators and voice your opinions about the negative health effects students face due to standardized tests and some possible alternatives and solutions so that we can make a change for our future generation. And if you don't want to do this, make it clear to people that if we really care about our kids, at the minimum, we need to start tracking the negative health effects students face due to standardized tests.